there. Good evening. It is the FOX6 Sports Blitz, a Sunday night with a big week to put the cap on in the world of sports. Brandon Cruz, Lily Zhao, Tim Van Vorn, we thank you for being a part of things. And here's what you can expect coming up in the next half hour or so. The Bucks get to the All-Star break a little earlier than expected. Marquette goes down in historic fashion in #1 UConn. Willie Adames makes us say what as he questions the Brewers' top draft choice. We ask where in the world is Gary Sanchez, and we finish up this week's high school hotshot coming your way too.
First play, we gamble for the 50th time in the corner. Guy drives. We have to help, leads to a three. We come back in this on our set. Two guys forget what we're running. Then we miss the shot, and then nobody gets back. That's how we start out the third quarter. That tells you all you need to know about where our heads were. We had some guys here, and we had some guys in Cabo.
All right, pretty direct there from Doc Rivers. He also didn't name any of the Memphis Grizzlies. He may not have known who they were. It was a faceless crew out there for the Grizzlies who still beat the Bucks in the regular season finale. So we'll talk about tonight's All-Star game. We're not going to omit that, but let's start with the Bucks themselves. And as they get to the break, what's your takeaway on them?
I think you listen to Doc there, and there's some frustration already building. 10 games into his tenure, they're only 3-7. They get blown out in their last home game when Miami comes here. Then they go to Memphis in a game they should win because not any of the starters for Memphis are out there. So many guys are off that roster. It's all G Leaguers, yet they lose there as well. And when he's talking about guys not having their head in the game and guys not playing, not knowing what the play was, that clearly is a communication issue that was in the previous tenure or the previous head coach's tenure, and now with Doc Rivers, it seems to continue. There has to be some kind of accountability, and you have to wonder when that is going to start to show up, because so far on the court during games, it really hasn't, with the exception of maybe two.
Doc Rivers is 3-7 so far. During the All-Star break, he told Fox Sports that the job's been tougher than he expected. He wanted to wait until the All-Star break until he was able to take over. You can see what the Bucks are looking like so far under Rivers. Can it turn, Lily? Will it turn?
You'd have to hope so, right? Because that's kind of what this entire team is banking on. Everyone's kind of been saying coming out of the All-Star break, that's when we're going to see everything kind of come to fruition. We'll be better. We'll figure things out from there. But now that we're kind of here, it's can we figure it out? You have to believe so. Giannis Antetokounmpo saying, do you guys want it? Do we really want it? He said, it starts with me. I'll take accountability and go from there. So it starts with Giannis, but then when you're looking at everybody else, Chris Middleton, of course, out for who knows for how long with that right ankle sprain. Then you have Damian Lillard, who played well over the All-Star weekend. We'll see if that can kind of carry into, that play can carry over to the regular season when they do come out of the break with Damian Lillard. I think when you have Giannis playing at his best and Dame playing at his best, that's what this Bucks team is banking on. We haven't really seen that on a consistent basis. And then I think the bench production also needs to step up. So if those guys can also produce, that will kind of be key in fueling a Bucks run that they will need, because these teams in the East are kind of getting pretty close there at 2 and 3.
And the Bucks have played the easy part of their schedule. They have tougher opposition the rest of the way. Brandon, Lily mentioned the All-Star break. Here you see the Eastern Conference right now. Bucks are still third in the East. Lillard is the All-Star MVP. Giannis is the team-winning captain. Doc Rivers gets all that on his resume, if you will. Lillard wins the three-point shooting contest. Can there be some sport of springboard? This looks like a team that needs some sort of boost. Could this be one?
I think yes, but you have to kind of manufacture it and believe that this will do that. You have to believe that what Damian Lillard did this weekend will carry over. If you're a Bucks player, you have to be excited for your teammate. If you're Doc Rivers, you have to use this maybe as fuel. Like, look, we have the guys that can do this. Now let's put it together. But I don't think it's real unless they make themselves believe it. It's kind of the George Costanza. It's not a lie if you believe it. So if they can come back from this weekend's break and use this as fuel and motivation, I think it's something that can be positive. Hopefully for the Bucks and the Bucks fans, this isn't a one-off and a nice weekend for some of their stars, but we will see when it come back.
And you do refer to it as a break. It's not really a break for these guys. No. And some of these Bucks have looked tired. I'm not going to lie, Lily. It's like it's all been kind of wearing on them so far. So we shall see. And they add Danilo Gallinari. That will do what?
get some, maybe some production off the bench, maybe some outside shooting. Of course, played under Doc Rivers, played with Patrick Beverley, so there's a familiarity component there with the head coach of the Bucks now. But I think, you're not going to get a lot of defense with Gallinari. But again, I think when he's on the court, provide some shooting, provide some veteran leadership. We'll see kind of what he does do. But I think kind of the best option that was out there for the Bucks at the time. And of course, they pick him up, and we'll see if he can provide a spark off the bench, because they sorely need that if the Bucks really want to make a push there. They need to shore up the defense. That's key number one. But also the offense, though, they kind of got to get back and play more consistently on that end as well. So we'll see if he can kind of help there.
And so is Doc Rivers the guy? He's going to be the coach. Can he do something?
He has to. There's nowhere else to go. You're paying so many head coaches. You turn to him at a critical moment when your team was 30-13. So it doesn't matter if he can or can't. He is the guy. So in reality, he has to. Now, if you notice, you talked about Gallinari coming back. You also have Patrick Beverley, a couple guys that have played for him. So now you have two guys that can really kind of relay his message and what he's trying to do to the other guys. And I think that's a key addition and a key thing to look at as this team moves forward, how much those guys help in the translation of what Doc is trying to implement.
The second half of the season does start Friday night at Minnesota. Last time the team was on the road, it didn't go well. It's halftime. That means it is time for the FOX6 Blitz Insta Poll. You can go directly to the question right now if you scan the QR code on the screen, or you can go to fox6now.com. How do you feel about Marquette's national title hopes after a blowout loss Saturday afternoon at UConn? Your question right there for you. We look forward to your answers as we continue the program.
Anytime you lose a game like this, the focus is on your own team. We want to be the best version of us at the end of the season. And we've played 6 out of 8 games on the road, including today. I think our guys' mentality and approach on the road has been tremendous up until today. And UConn had a ton to do with that. What we need to do better the next time we play UConn, it's like Santa Claus's list that unfolds.
Shaka Smart trying to make some light of the game. What else can you do? It totally went to the Huskies on Saturday afternoon, and there will be a rematch in the regular season back here in Milwaukee. Do the Golden Eagles have, well, they certainly have a chance to make it a closer game. Do they have a chance to win that game? Their next 3 games are at home, and can that help to build something toward the rematch?
You have to hope so, right? Because when you're looking at the gold standard of the Big East and, of course, of the country, it's UConn right now. And that gap, I think the Marquette Golden Eagles thought it was a little bit closer than it was and that it showed on the court. So I think that, the week that they do play the Huskies again, it's a tough stretch there for them. It's Creighton along with Providence. So it's kind of a build-up to playing UConn once again. If they can close the gap, I think those 2 games are going to be key to kind of figuring out, can we do it? When you're looking at UConn, though, the size, the physicality, their ability to get boards, put up big runs, was really on display on their own home court, and Marquette really had no answers. They kind of settled for the 3, couldn't really make those shots as well. And, of course, just we're out hustled on the court. So if they want to pick things up, they have to show an ability before that to do it. But, they are playing at home. Anything can happen because, as Dana Hurley said, everything really went UConn's way. So maybe everything will go Marquette's way in round 2.
It certainly did in front of that home court for the Huskies. They are big, of course. They got on the glass. That is a challenge for Marquette. And we talked about how good Tyler Kolek can be for the Golden Eagles. He wasn't particularly good on Saturday afternoon, and the team does take its cue from him.
It does. I mean, he was only 2 of 11 shooting. He also turned the ball over at times when they were maybe trying to get back in and create some momentum. But I don't think, though, that you have to worry about Tyler Kolek. I think once that game was over, he was like, on to the next. Let's worry about DePaul. Let's worry about getting better for that game and continuing to do what we have been doing for the majority of the season. And I think that's why he's such a great leader. It's too bad for him that he couldn't do it out there, in the Northeast, close to home, and also on such a big stage against the top team in the country. But again, maybe this is fuel for motivation for this team. They look at this 28-point loss, something that hasn't happened to a team playing both in the top 5 and losing by 28. That's one of the reasons why this was historic. But maybe you use this and say, okay, they're going to come in cocky the next time we face them, and we're going to come in determined to play much better, be more aggressive, and as Shaka Smart says, be more violent on the court, be more violent in their approach. coach. And I think if you see something like that, especially when they meet again in March, then you could see some differences in the outcome.
The Wisconsin Badgers season has taken a violent turn. They had a 4-game losing streak, won a game, got a coach fired, and then went back to losing at Iowa over the weekend. Can they right this ship, or has it sailed?
I'm hoping it hasn't sailed yet, because this is still a talented team, but they just haven't been able to figure things out, and the defense has been the big issue. I think early on in the season, when they were putting together a good win streak, when they were getting ranked in the top 10, they were able to play good defense, and they had their stars play really well, but now it's just defensive lapses that have really, really hurt this team against, opponents that they should beat. These are opponents kind of towards the bottom of the Big Ten that should really have no business shooting as well as they have been against Wisconsin, but the Badgers just cannot play defense in crucial moments, and they're getting burned big by them. And of course, they've dropped 5 of their last 6. They can't afford to do that because, again, they also have a tough stretch of 3 games coming up in March, but outside of that, they have very winnable games. So the Badgers need to get back on track, build up that confidence, and just get a win and go from there. And
reinforcements are not coming. That's the thing when you get to this stage of the season. The improvement has to come from within.
Right, it does. And it's funny because when they beat Ohio State, one of the things that they kept talking about, they have to get Steven Crowd the ball. Get him the ball. Get him the ball. Get him the ball. That's how Greg Gard approached it and talked about it. Well, they got him the ball against Iowa, but a lot of the other guys didn't show up. I mean, he led them in scoring, but it wasn't this dominant performance that they were maybe looking to get out of it. So you need the Chucky Hepburns to really step up and lead this team. And to me, it's Tyler Wall. We need to see more of him. He seems to be hot and cold in all of these games, and because of that, I think they're missing out on a guy who really legitimately could be the star of this team, yet he hasn't taken that role over yet. And I think if he can find that extra bit of him, that could help this team. But that, to me, is the X factor.
He's played a lot of college basketball, no question about it. UWM carried the torch, though, for the weekend. Somebody won the basketball game for the state.
And it was fun. It was a fun finish.
Yeah, no question about it. And Bo Ryan, who coached at UWM and, of course, at Wisconsin, is a finalist for the Naismith Hall of Fame. Ryan, of course, with the Badgers 2001 through 2015. 7 Big Ten titles, 7 Sweet 16s, back-to-back Final Four appearances, including runner-up in the country in 2015. We'll learn the class of this year's Hall of Fame coming up at the Final Four on April 6th. And as we mentioned, the UWM Panthers, well, they're going to try to climb out of this Horizon League hole and make it something interesting in the postseason. Angelo Stewart throws one in right before the buzzer on Saturday night, so the Panthers get a big win, and you can see they're pretty fired up about that. This is the Fox 6 Sports Blitz with Say What coming up next.
Did you find yourself channeling your inner Hulk tonight?
I don't get your question.
I've been rated high as a funny man.
Certainly, you're talking about one of the all-time greats.
Want the Hulk voice or Jan's voice?
That's a good question.
Just got here yesterday, so I'm ready to go.
Yeah, he just got here, the last guy, but it's okay. We understand. He doesn't know.
Save the best for last, you know?
Right? That's what we do. Even though I got here first, but,
All right, are you ready for some baseball? Willie Adames is, as are the Brewers. Tomorrow is that big day where reporting day, all the guys that are the regular players, the infielders, the outfielders, will report. Pitchers and catchers already did this past week. What are your thoughts right now? I mean, I know most guys are already in camp. The way things work, and especially with the facility they have at American Family Fields of Phoenix, guys are there really early now. What do you think now that this is officially getting started?
Well, we're about to see it. I think the fans are going, all right, it's going to be a young team. There's going to be a new look out there this year. Willie Adames kind of says there with Brock Wilkins, hey, don't forget about the veterans. I think Willie's saying that in the little interview, and I think there are some of the guys on this team that are saying that as well. Hope springs eternal this time of year in baseball. It's this prospect, it's that guy, it's this guy on the way up. There are guys who produced at the major league level who the Brewers are going to rely on again this season. You can drop all these little probable lineups, but a lot of times at the start of the season, you're going to go with some of the guys who have produced at this level before. I expect that to happen in Milwaukee. I expect that to start to be seen through spring training.
Who do you see as taking over some leadership roles in that clubhouse? Obviously, Willie Adames is one of those guys that is looked to that way, but we don't know how long he's going to be here.
Right. I mean, I think he was kind of the voice of many of the veterans last year. You know, he was very candid about a lot of different things, but maybe when you're talking about voices in the clubhouse in terms of leadership, you have William Contreras, who's, you know, back for his second year with the Brewers. I mean, he's, you know, a valuable player at the catcher position. And then you'll see, you know, what can Rhys Hoskins do? I know he's a new guy, but I think also Devin Williams coming in as the closer. I mean, he's going to provide some valuable feedback as well. So those are some of the veterans, hopefully, that can kind of take on a leadership role, especially when a lot of those big-name veterans have left the clubhouse in Milwaukee. But I think, you know, a couple of those guys might be challenged by the youth that's coming in. It's going to be really fun to see kind of what stories that come out during spring training.
One story right now, where's Gary Sanchez?
I don't know. The Brewers aren't saying that they know. No one really knows. It was reported that he had signed, and then it just all kind of fell apart from there. And baseball insiders they don't seem to know either. So you certainly would seem to think there's a hang-up in the contract here, maybe involving a physical or something like that. And the Brewers would benefit from having Sanchez on the field, at least.
And tomorrow is officially reporting day, so maybe this all gets cleared up in the morning in Phoenix. Well, we do want to send out our well wishes to Adam McCalvey, the MLB.com beat writer for the Brewers. He's dealing with some medical issues. He won't be down at spring training covering the Brewers, but he expects to be at opening day, and we want to send him our heartfelt thoughts and wish him well, because he is a friend of the show, a friend of all of us, and we know he's going through a tough time, but we hope and wish that he gets better at this point. Let's check in, though, right now on our Instapoll question. Remember, you can go directly to the question right now by scanning the QR code or going to our website, fox6now.com. How do you feel about Marquette's national title hopes after that blowout loss at UConn? Well, right now you're kind of middle of the road. Not sure. We'll see how you feel by the end of the show. Well, one thing that we're sure of, the Admirals are not losing in 2024 as of yet. They've won 16 straight. This time they pitch a shutout against Manitoba. Yaroslav Askarov, his fourth shutout of the season, stopping all 14 shots he faces. The Admirals are 16-0 in 2024. They take on the Moose again tomorrow at 2 o'clock as they look to make it 17 straight. Coming up next, our high school hotshot.
Welcome back. The senior found his way to Milwaukee as a child, and since then he's found his stride on the court and has helped his team to one of their best records in school history this season. Here's this week's Fox 6 High School Hotshot.
Hi, I'm Mohamed Toure. I'm a senior at Wisconsin Conservatory of Lifelong Learning, and I'm on the basketball team. Basketball, it's just always been a fun sport to me. Like growing up, I started with soccer, and then when I came to the U.S., my cousin showed me basketball, and then ever since then I started loving the game. Well, when I first came, my cousin, he showed me a player named Paul George, and then after I started knowing about basketball more, I found out about Kyrie Irving. Yeah, I started liking him. He's my favorite player. I try to put everybody's game together as one to create me. I feel like I'm a creator, but I do what's best for my team to help us win the game. I don't think nobody can jump as high as me. That's just my mindset. So I feel like if you're going to get up against me, I should finish the dunk. I've been practicing dunking since I was a kid on a mini hoop. So yeah, that's when I really started practicing trying to dunk and stuff like that. I always wanted to be a dunker growing up. I was 8 when I left Liberia to come to Wisconsin. Yeah, that's very important to me because my mom's a single mother. Yeah, I give her a lot of pride. That's a pretty hard thing to do. She definitely did a good job. She don't really understand the game for real. Yeah, she don't really understand it. I really like art, animation, and stuff like that. My cousin put me onto anime, so he put me onto Naruto, and then ever since then I just started liking anime. I got a couple drawings in my art class. Liberia, they speak English down there and stuff like that. So I feel like when we can't, it wasn't hard for us to learn a new language or nothing like that. English is the main language in Liberia, but we also speak another language called Mandingo. That's all we speak at home, my mom, my grandma. Adi Ndole Mohamed Toure. How you doing? I'm Mohamed Toure. I'm Mohamed Toure. I'm a senior guard at Wisconsin Conservatory of Lifelong Learning, and I'm on the basketball team. And now this week, FOX6 High School Hotshot.
And get this, in the Wizards' regular season finale, Mohamed scored 1,000 career points. He's the first player ever at Wisconsin Conservatory of Lifelong Learning to reach that milestone. What an amazing accomplishment. All right, we'll be right back after a quick break.
Instapoll answer time. How do you feel about the Marquette Golden Eagles? There's still some belief out there, Brett. And speaking of Marquette.
Yeah, they have a busy week. It's DePaul and Xavier here. UWM also at home this week, and Wisconsin hosts Maryland.
And the Bucks are back from the All-Star break Friday at Minnesota. Then another challenging game Sunday at the 76ers.
So we'll be checking the temperature on all those teams as we come back and get you with next Sunday night. Don't forget Daytona 500 runs Monday after being postponed today. Take care.